and welcome to Hosting with Susanna, where I help you create beautiful parties and fun gatherings without all the stressful planning. Today we're making my barbecue beef heart pizzas for our Galentine's Day parties. I absolutely love throwing Galentine's Day parties. I've been doing it for the past 8 or 9 years, and at almost all of them I've had heart-shaped pizzas. I just think it's such a fun and aesthetic food to have at these parties for your guests, and I always make personal size ones too, which I think is just really convenient and super easy for your guests to eat. And so this one is going to be my barbecue beef one, which I'm also really excited about because it's largely inspired by a meal that my mom would always make. And so I've made some variations to transform it into a pizza and to make it really work for that. But for the most part, it's based off of that recipe. So I'm excited to share this with you guys. First, we're going to actually make a pot roast, and then after that's finished, we're going to transform that into our pizzas. So here's what you're going to need to get started. 1 pound of boneless beef, you're going to want to go ahead and chop it up a bit. 1 10.75 ounce can of condensed tomato soup. 1 cup of barbecue sauce. 1 6 ounce can of tomato paste. 1/2 cup of water. 3 tablespoons of olive oil. A dash of ground pepper to your liking. 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. And 1 medium-sized yellow onion that's been sliced up. Now, you're also going to want to preheat your oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. To start out, we're going to rub our beef with 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And now we'll go ahead and sprinkle on our ground black pepper and our garlic powder. And now we're going to go ahead and sear this over medium-high heat until all the sides are browned. Okay, this is pretty well seared now, so we're going to go ahead and take out the heat. Now we'll go ahead and add our sliced onions on top of the beef. And then in a small mixing bowl, we'll go ahead and combine our condensed tomato soup, our barbecue sauce, our tomato paste, and our water. Now we'll go ahead and just stir this all up until it's well combined. Okay, now that our sauce is well mixed together, we're going to go ahead and pour this over our beef and onions. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and cover our Dutch oven. We're going to pop this in our preheated oven that's now at 300 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going to roast this for 2.5 to 3 hours until the beef is just so tender that it just falls apart. Okay, now our pot roast is done and we're ready to form our pizzas. So the remaining ingredients that you're going to need is 4 12-inch round pre-made pizza crusts and 5 cups of shredded mozzarella cheese. Now I do want to note that if you have any guests coming who have gluten issues or are celiac, you could always do a gluten-free crust, and if you have any guests coming who have dairy issues and are lactose intolerant, you can always do a dairy-free cheese. You can make those separately. That's what's really nice about these being personal size pizzas, that everyone can have their own, so you can kind of make different ones if certain people have food allergies. Also, if you have any guests coming who are vegan, you could always make a separate batch of just the sauce and the onions and saute them on a stovetop, and then do a dairy-free cheese for those guests. So we're going to cut these crusts up to be little hearts, and so I'm going to show you how I do that. Now we're going to go ahead and start by cutting our pizza crust in half. And this is where a pair of kitchen scissors comes in really handy. I would not be able to do this without kitchen scissors. And then we're going to take our halves that we just split and we're going to cut them in half again. And then we'll do the same here and cut that in half. And now we'll take each individual big slice and we're gonna round off the corners at the end that's curved. So we'll just cut it like so. And again on the other end, we'll just round that off. Okay, now you're starting to see a bit of a heart, right? So now we're gonna take the center part across from our pointed edge, and we're just gonna go ahead and do a little curve cut and a little curve cut and round it off. And sometimes you might need to just do an extra another snip or two just to really round it out. And there you go, a beautiful little heart crust. And now we'll just continue to do that same process with all of the rest of our pizza crusts. So the first couple years that I threw Valentine's Day parties, I actually made the dough from scratch, and then by hand I tried to form each one into the shape of a heart, and it was so time consuming, and also they did not look as cohesive as these ones turn out. Obviously these ones all have some variations because we're cutting them by hand, but they all still look so much more similar to each other, especially since we start out by cutting it into fours. So I will say it's such a game changer to use pre-made crust, and it saves you so much time. Okay, so now that we have all of our pizza crust cut out in the shape of hearts, we're gonna go ahead and take the sauce from our pot roast and spread it on to all of our pizza crusts. And if you get some onions or some little bits of beef in there now, that's totally fine. We'll go through after all the sauce is on and really add that on, but if you get some as you're scooping up the sauce, that's totally fine too. Okay, now that they're all covered in sauce, we'll go back and we'll scoop out some pieces of beef for each of these and some slices of onion. And now we'll just go ahead and top it with our cheese. Okay, now that these are ready, I'm gonna pop them in an oven that's been preheated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. We're gonna bake them for 8 to 12 minutes until the cheese is melted and the crust is a light golden brown. And there we have it, our barbecue beef heart pizzas, fresh out the oven and ready to enjoy. It's so delicious. I love how tender the beef is, and that tomato barbecue sauce is so good. I hope you and your guests love it. I'll see you next time.